Sometimes in life, we look for massive changes. We hope for a miracle, a breakthrough, a complete transformation. We want the entire mountain to move overnight. But the truth is, your life does not change all at once. It changes quietly, gradually, intentionally, with one small, consistent habit, one shift, one choice, one commitment. You are not 1,000 miles away from a new life. You are only one habit away. Every day you are building your future. Whether you realize it or not, your actions are writing your story. And the good news is, you hold the pen. You are the author. The power to create something new, something beautiful, something aligned with your purpose, it already lives inside you. But change doesn't begin with a massive leap. It begins with a single, intentional step. And that step is your habit. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are built by habits. If you want a new life, don't wait for the perfect timing. Don't wait for a sign. Don't wait for motivation to magically appear. Start with one habit that aligns with the person you want to become. A habit of gratitude. A habit of discipline. A habit of showing up even when it's hard. These small actions might feel insignificant at first, but over time, they shape your character, your confidence, and your reality. I know what it feels like to be stuck. To feel like no matter what you do, the mountain is too high, the road is too long. But I'm here to tell you, your breakthrough is not as far as it seems. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing one thing faithfully. And when you do it enough, that one habit becomes your identity. It becomes your new standard. And that standard lifts you into the life you once only dreamed of. We often underestimate the power of consistency. We think greatness comes from grand gestures, but it doesn't. It comes from choosing again and again to stay committed to the process, even when no one sees, even when there's no applause, even when the progress feels invisible. Success isn't loud. It's patient. It's quiet. And it's built in the shadows, one habit at a time. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Then ask, what is one small thing that person would do every day? Do that. Begin there. It doesn't have to be impressive. It has to be intentional. A 10-minute walk, drinking water, waking up early, reading one page, speaking kindly to yourself. These things are not small. They are sacred. Because every time you choose to honor a habit, you're telling yourself, I matter. My future matters. My life matters. Oh, you are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply one habit away from realignment, from clarity, from healing, from breakthrough. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you to begin, to believe, to become. So stop overthinking. Stop doubting your power. Start with one habit and let that habit lead you to the life that has been waiting for you all along. And when you feel like giving up, remember this: the life you want is not found in the distance. It's already within reach. You just need to show up for it every single day. With love, with discipline, with faith, because you, my dear, are only one habit away from a completely new life. It's easy to believe that transformation requires an extraordinary event. That to change our life, we must flip it upside down or wait for some divine moment of clarity. But that belief often paralyzes us. It tells us, not yet. You're not ready. This isn't the right time. And we wait for signs, for luck, for motivation. But let me whisper a truth to you, one I've lived through and one I hope you never forget. You are not 1,000 miles away from a new life. You are only one habit away. One small habit, one decision that may seem insignificant in the moment, but when repeated daily, it begins to pull you toward a future you didn't think was possible. That is how change begins. Not in chaos, but in quiet. Not in a crowd, but within you. You are the one who builds the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. Every person who ever changed their life began with something so small, it almost didn't seem worth doing. Waking up 30 minutes earlier. Choosing gratitude instead of complaint. Writing one page, walking one block, drinking one glass of water. But that's the thing. The habit doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be consistent. That one consistent act starts to send a signal to your mind, your heart, and your spirit that you are no longer settling. You are stepping. We often romanticize the idea of starting over as if it's some grand gesture. But real, lasting change doesn't shout. It whispers. It's found in those daily decisions that no one claps for. It's built in silence, when you choose to keep going even when you can't see the results. Because the power of habit is not in what you do one day, it's in what you choose to do every day. Let me ask you this. If you repeated today's actions for the next year, where would you be? The answer to that question is the blueprint to your future. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that's your invitation. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to change your entire world overnight. You just need to choose one habit that aligns with who you want to become and commit to it with love, with discipline, and with grace. This journey is not about perfection. It's about becoming. There will be days when you fall short. There will be moments of doubt. But the beauty of habit is that it gives you something solid to return to. A structure, a rhythm, a foundation. When emotions fail, habits remain. When motivation disappears, habits carry you forward. Your new life doesn't begin when the world notices. It begins the moment you decide not to give up on yourself. You don't need to be extraordinary to create an extraordinary life. You just need to do the ordinary with extraordinary commitment. That is the unseen magic of habit. It turns effort into identity. You begin to see yourself differently. Not as someone trying, but as someone becoming. And when you begin to believe in who you're becoming, the world begins to respond, not because you begged it to, but because you earned it through your quiet consistency. So choose your habit like it's sacred, because it is. It's more than a task. It's a declaration. It says, I will no longer wait for change. I will become it. And if that sounds simple, that's because it is. It's not easy, but it's simple. You are not far from your breakthrough. You're just one habit away. And once you begin, you'll realize it was never about the habit itself. It was always about who you are becoming through it. We live in a world that glorifies goals. We write them down. We say them out loud. We pin them to vision boards and chase them with passion. And yet so many of us wonder why the goal remains distant, why the dream feels just out of reach. It's not because the goal is too big. It's because the system supporting it is too small. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That's not just a lesson in discipline. It's a truth about life. Setting goals is powerful. It gives direction. But direction alone won't take you to the destination. Imagine a plane programmed to fly across the ocean. The goal is clear, but if the systems, the engines, the navigation, the fuel, aren't aligned, the plane never takes off. Our lives are no different. Dreams need systems. Hope needs habit. Vision needs structure. And unless we begin to build systems that support who we want to become, we will always find ourselves circling the runway, wondering why we haven't lifted off. A goal can inspire you, but a system sustains you. It's easy to be motivated for a few days. It's easy to feel hopeful when everything is going well. But what carries you through the days when you feel tired, uninspired, or discouraged? What keeps you grounded when life becomes noisy? That's where your system comes in. A system is your quiet agreement with yourself. Even when I don't feel like it, I'll show up. Even when it's hard, I'll continue. It's not driven by emotion. It's built on commitment. Let's make it personal. Think of the most successful people you admire, not for their fame or wealth, but for their character, their resilience, their clarity. Do you think they wake up every day wildly motivated and ready to conquer the world? No. What they have is consistency. What they've built are systems that support their vision, even when they're not feeling their best. Greatness isn't built on intensity. It's built on structure. It's built on discipline done quietly and repeatedly. The reason many people don't reach their goals isn't because they lack desire. It's because they never build the habits required to sustain that desire. You can't wish your way into change. You must systemize it. Want to be healthier? It's not the one workout. It's the schedule, the routine, the plan. Want to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally? It's not a single prayer, a single book, a single breakthrough. It's the system you build around your values that carries the weight of transformation. So, how do you build these systems? You start small. You don't wait for the perfect time. You choose one thing, one daily practice that supports your goal, and you protect it. You make it part of your identity, and every time you honor that small system, you send yourself a message: I am not just dreaming. I am becoming. And that message builds momentum. That momentum builds belief. And belief, that changes everything. The moment you shift your focus from chasing the result to honoring the process, something beautiful happens. The goal no longer becomes a burden. It becomes a byproduct. It becomes something you naturally move toward, not through force, but through flow. Your system, your rhythm, your process, it becomes your path. And it's on that path you find not only the results you want, but the version of yourself you were always meant to meet. So, If the dream still feels far away, don't blame your goal. Look at your system. Rebuild it. Realign it. Refine it. And remember, your future doesn't depend on what you wish for. It depends on what you're willing to build every single day, brick by brick, habit by habit, moment by moment. Because in the end, you don't become what you hope for. You become what you consistently do. Every day, whether we are aware of it or not, we are voting for the kind of person we believe we are. Not with our words, not with our dreams, but with our habits. The things we do consistently. Those silent, often invisible choices are speaking something profound into the world. This is who I am. The habit you repeat reveals the identity you believe in. If you want to change your life, you must first change what you believe about yourself. And if you want to change what you believe, start by changing what you do. We often try to force transformation by telling ourselves, I will be better, I will do better. But belief doesn't take root in pressure. It grows in evidence. When you show up for yourself, even in the smallest way, you begin to gather proof that maybe, just maybe, you are not who your past tried to convince you to be. You are becoming someone new, someone stronger, more consistent, more alive. And the path to that person is not in a grand reinvention. It is in the repetition of a habit that aligns with your vision. Think about it. When you choose to journal instead of complain, to walk instead of scroll, to reflect instead of react, you are shaping something deeper than action. You are reshaping identity. You are telling yourself, I am someone who shows up. I am someone who takes care of my mind, my body, my soul. And over time, those small repetitions begin to speak louder than your fears, louder than your doubts, louder than the stories you've been told about your limitations. It's tempting to chase a result, to want change fast. But lasting transformation doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from what you embody, and embodiment happens through repetition. If you consistently show up late, forget your goals, speak harshly to yourself, those actions whisper to your mind, I am disorganized, I am not disciplined, I don't matter. But when you replace those moments with conscious habits of presence, effort, and care, you rewrite the narrative. You give yourself new evidence. And suddenly the story changes. I am reliable. I am intentional. I am enough. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about asking yourself, does this habit reflect the person I truly want to be? And if the answer is no, the beautiful truth is, you don't have to keep choosing it. Every single moment is an invitation to choose again, to believe again, to step into a new identity, not because you've reached some external milestone, but because you've shown yourself you're worthy of a better rhythm, a higher standard, a deeper love for your own life. The most powerful transformation does not begin with a goal. It begins with a habit that dares to say, I am more than my circumstances. I am more than my failures. I am building something worthy of who I'm becoming. And that habit, no matter how small, when repeated, becomes your foundation. From there, you rise not with speed, but with certainty. So don't just ask yourself, what do I want? Ask, What am I repeating? Because what you repeat, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you start to believe. And what you believe, you become. That is where the real shift happens. Not in a single leap, but in the quiet, daily choices that no one sees except you. And those are the ones that matter most. There will always be two voices within us. One that whispers comfort and ease, and another that calls us toward growth and greatness. The difference between the life you settle for and the life you dream of comes down to which voice you listen to, not once, but every single day. Discipline is not about forcing yourself. It is about honoring yourself. It is choosing what you want most over what you want now. And that choice, though small in the moment, shapes the direction of your entire life. We live in a time of instant gratification. Everything is designed to be fast, easy, and convenient. But the life you're meant for, the one that holds meaning, strength, and impact, that life isn't built in the comfort of now. It's born in the courage of delay. Because what you want now often satisfies the moment. But what you want most, peace, purpose, strength, self-respect, that requires patience. That requires saying no to the easy road so you can build something eternal within you. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think it's about willpower, about grinding through pain. But real discipline isn't punishment. It's protection. It's saying, I love myself enough to not sabotage my future for a temporary feeling. It's waking up early not because you have to, but because you know your dreams deserve that kind of respect. It's eating well, studying harder, walking away from toxic conversations. Not because it's easy, but because your soul matters more than your comfort. When you give in to what you want now, you feed the hunger of the moment. But when you choose what you want most, you feed your future. You invest in the person you're becoming. And that person, that version of you who's grounded, focused, radiant with purpose, she only comes alive when you're willing to wait, to endure, to choose her over the temptation of ease. Because greatness has a cost, and that cost is consistency. There will be mornings you want to stay in bed, days when giving up feels easier than holding on, moments when the shortcut looks more tempting than the long, lonely path. But in those very moments, discipline becomes a gift. A quiet decision that says, I'm not living for right now, I'm living for what matters most. You're not missing out, you're showing up for yourself, for your destiny, for the life only you were born to live. Let me ask you something deeply personal. If you stopped giving in to what feels good right now, what could you build? Who could you become? What kind of peace could you finally feel? Because the more you practice discipline, the more you begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you stop chasing validation, you stop breaking promises to your own heart, and you start to stand tall in the power of your own choices. Every time you choose discipline, you silence the doubt. Every time you choose consistency, you deepen your belief. Every time you say no to the distraction and yes to your higher calling, you remind yourself, I was not made for mediocrity, I was made for more. And that truth, when lived, changes everything, not overnight, but over time, quietly. powerfully, authentically. So the next time you're tempted by the comfort of now, pause, take a breath, and remember who you're becoming. Let that vision pull you forward. Let that fire burn stronger than the impulse to give in. Because in that one moment of discipline, you are not just resisting a temptation, you are rewriting your destiny, one powerful choice at a time. Progress isn't always loud. It doesn't always look impressive or feel exciting. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it feels like nothing is changing. Sometimes it's showing up again and again, even when the results are invisible. But this is what most people don't understand. No progress doesn't happen in the outcome. It happens in the process. And that process, it demands patience. It demands faith. It demands the courage to trust the path even when the finish line seems far away. We often ask ourselves, why is it taking so long? But maybe the real question is, what am I becoming in the waiting? Because transformation doesn't come in a moment. It comes in the unseen hours, the uncomfortable in-betweens, the lonely nights where quitting feels easier than continuing. It is in those moments when nothing around you is applauding, when no one notices your effort, that your character is being carved. And the truth is, if you rush the process, you ruin the depth. You shortcut not just the results, but the strength you were meant to develop along the way. Everyone wants progress, but very few want the patience that progress requires. We want to plant the seed today and see the tree tomorrow. But real growth, soul growth, lasting change takes time. It takes falling, learning, adjusting, and trying again. The breakthrough doesn't come on day one. It comes after you've failed, after you've cried, after you've wondered if it's even worth it. And still you decide to keep moving. That's where the shift begins. That's where progress starts to breathe. We live in a world addicted to speed, but the most beautiful things in life are never rushed. A flower doesn't bloom overnight. A mountain isn't formed in a moment. And the person you are becoming, the one who's wiser, stronger, kinder, more grounded, that version of you is being formed one small choice at a time. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep walking. Because every step, even the ones that feel slow, even the ones that feel backward, are shaping you into someone unshakable. Patience with the process is not passive. It's not sitting and hoping. It's working faithfully with what you have, where you are, while trusting that your consistent effort is not in vain. It's choosing to believe that your pace doesn't determine your worth. It's understanding that you're not behind, you're not late. You're exactly where you're meant to be, learning exactly what you need to learn. And in that space, you build something far more important than outcomes. You build integrity. You build resilience. You build self-respect. I know it's hard. I know there are days when the mirror doesn't reflect the progress you were hoping for. But what if I told you that progress is happening beneath the surface, that your tears are watering your future, that your daily discipline is forming a quiet power that the world hasn't seen yet? What if everything you're waiting for is already being built, and all it needs is your continued belief, Don't underestimate the process just because it's slow. Don't abandon the journey just because it's quiet. Patience is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's the fierce determination to keep showing up, not because the results are guaranteed, but because your purpose is worth it. Your healing is worth it. Your future is worth it. So hold the vision. Honor the work. Be gentle with yourself when it gets hard. Because progress isn't always visible, but it is always happening. If you're willing to stay in the process long enough to see it unfold. There will be days when the fire isn't there. Days when your bed feels safer than your dreams. Days when no quote, no speech, no external spark can push you forward. And it's in those days that we often ask, where did my motivation go? But perhaps the better question is, what have I committed to? Because the truth is, you don't need to feel motivated every day to build a beautiful life. You need to be committed deeply, quietly, fiercely. Motivation is fleeting. It's like the wind. It can lift you up, but it can also leave just as quickly. Commitment, however, is like roots. It goes deep. It holds steady. It stays even when the weather is brutal. You see, the most successful, fulfilled people aren't those who are always inspired. They're the ones who show up even when they're not. They don't wait for motivation to arrive. They lean on their decision to keep going. There's a quiet power in doing what you said you'd do long after the feeling in which you said it has passed. That's where transformation begins. Not in the excitement of starting, but in the discipline of continuing. You don't rise because you always feel like it. You rise because you've decided you're worthy of the life you're building. And that decision, that unwavering inner vow, becomes your anchor on the stormy days. We've been taught to chase motivation like it's some magical fuel. But what if you stopped chasing highs and started building habits? What if you replaced the question, do I feel like it today, with what kind of person am I becoming today? Because true commitment doesn't ask how you feel. It simply follows through. It shows up to write, to work, to heal, to pray, to train, no matter the mood, no matter the mess. When you make a deep internal promise to yourself, something shifts. You begin to trust yourself. And trust is more powerful than inspiration. When you trust that you'll follow through, you stop relying on emotion. You move with purpose, not pressure. You act with clarity, not chaos. Because commitment isn't loud, it's sacred. It's the whisper that says, I will not abandon myself today. I know there are days when everything feels heavy, when your mind says, what's the point? But those are the days that matter most. Anyone can move forward when it's easy, but the rare few who keep walking without applause, without energy, without support, those are the ones who become unstoppable. Because they're not moved by emotion, they're moved by something deeper, by a calling, by a conviction. Think about the version of yourself that you're striving to become. Does that version only show up on motivated days? Or does she rise, stretch, breathe, and take one step, however small, because she honors her journey, not her feelings? You don't have to sprint. You just have to continue. Commitment says, No, I'm in this for the long haul. Even on the days I feel invisible. Even on the days no one is watching. Even when the voice in my head tells me to stop. If you wait to feel ready every day, you'll never move. But if you decide that you're committed no matter what, you unlock a new level of strength, and that strength will carry you through every doubt, every delay, every dry season. Because the truth is, commitment builds consistency. Consistency builds character. And character shapes your destiny. So don't worry if the fire is missing today. Light a candle with your choice. Let your discipline speak louder than your doubt. And remember, you are not walking this path to impress anyone. You are walking it to become someone only you can be.